In today's video, we're going to talk about the deeper reasons behind walking the path of self-realization. As a dedicated seeker, intentionally, what is the point? What is the goal? What is the purpose of all of this? Welcome to Seekers Academy. My name is Bastianela and I'm the founder of this academy. Here we put every single necessary and sufficient element for the self-realization journey into one place, in a one clear, simple, precise pathway for self-realization. Many seekers walk this path of self-realization or to self-realization without actually clearly understanding what is this about, what does it entail, what is the direction, where are we going, and what are we going to achieve by putting in this effort. And this lack of clarity leads to a lot of confusion, frustration, and therefore stagnation. So I decided to make this video today to bring more clarity about the direction of the self-realization journey and more clarity about what do we need to do in order to achieve that which we all crave. And those of us who have engaged on the path of self-realization, we understand that what we seek is that profound peacefulness to ground in our lives. That sense of openness and joy and freedom that everybody seeks knowingly or unknowingly. In short, the answer to what is the point, what is the goal, what is the purpose of walking the path of self-realization intentionally is profound transformation. But what does this profound transformation mean and how do we achieve it? Most paths that we follow do not lead us into the heart of self-realization, which is the embodiment of this profound transformation that we all crave. And why most paths don't lead us to the heart of self-realization, I talked about this in my latest video, so go ahead and check it if you're interested to understand why most paths fail. So how does this transformation happen, and what do we need to do in order to walk this path in a conscious way, in a way of knowing what we are doing and where we're going and what tools we're using to make this journey most effective and simple and direct. Profound transformation occurs when we ground our self-realization into our day-to-day life and into our understanding of ourselves as infinite awareness. Now, how do we ground this realization? First of all, we need to have this realization. There is a first moment when awakening or self-realization happens, when we realize who we are behind our thoughts, emotions, and body. We realize that we are the awareness with which we are aware of the experience. And when we realize our true self, we also feel, experience directly, live our true nature, which is ever present, inherently peaceful, unconditionally complete, fulfilled presence or awareness or consciousness or knowing. So profound transformation can only happen and be sustained, remain as our normal way of living if we ground our realization in our day-to-day life. Why? Because that profound transformation that we seek is that deep peacefulness, openness, and joy of being, joy of living that can only come from knowing our true nature. It cannot come through acquiring practices, experiences, information, or accomplishments, status, substances, objects. It can only come from knowing who you truly are. And that is where seeking ends and realization, grounding your realization begins. So let's break this all down for a deeper understanding. First, let's talk about understanding the journey and the milestones of self-realization. the path of seeking, which is the path to awakening or the path to realization, often begins with a sense of restlessness, a sense that there is more to life than the surface level experiences of pleasure, pain, success, and failure. It is an unshakable feeling that something fundamental is missing, and so that seeking becomes more conscious now for something that transcends all of those surface level experiences that we now understand are quite shallow. We are looking for more depth and more clarity. And this is what puts us on the path to self-realization, on the path to find that which we feel is missing, basically find ourselves. Now, the next stage that happens is we have that first moment or insight about our true nature, which we call awakening. We finally see who we truly are. And when we see who we truly are, we might also have that experience of profound, unshakable, undisturbable peacefulness that is the nature of our true being. And then after that first moment of awakening or insight, which may last a flash, or it may last for days or even weeks, but then it fades away. So then after that, we start to seek to live that experience again. But this is not the goal. That first moment marks the beginning of the path of self-realization if one engages in basically repeating that experience at will. Now, the problem comes when most people don't know how to repeat that experience at will. They cannot find it, so to speak, anymore. So then they go and search in teachings, courses, webinars, training programs, you name it. And in order to discover what will make you ground that first moment of awakening, right? Now, the problem might be that is what I call a dedicated seeker. So the problem might be that the dedicated seeker who is determined and committed to ground that first moment of awakening and understanding about their true nature in their day-to-day life, to make it the default way of living, gets lost in seeking, gets lost in practices and teachings and courses and retreats and all of that maze of information and experiences that is filled with confusion, uncertainty, not a clear knowing of what you're doing and whether what you are doing is going to take you to where you actually crave to be, which is that profound peacefulness. If you are a dedicated seeker, I think you can agree with me that basically that is the goal. That is why you are walking the path of self-realization. To achieve, to ground, to anchor, to realize that profound peacefulness of your true being. Now, how we can do that in a sustainable way so that this doesn't become just a fleeting moment, this doesn't remain just a fleeting moment, but becomes our new way of living, is through grounding your realization. And the way to ground your realization is not through practicing a lot of meditation and acquiring a lot of information and experiences, but through having a systematic, very clear and precise framework through which the practice becomes grounding your self-realization by going back to the true self, to the nature of your own being again and again and again and again, in a very clear, specific way that allows you to become more and more familiar with your true nature as infinite awareness. And that is what is going to ground it in your day-to-day life. And that is how you are going to bring that peacefulness of your own being more present into your day-to-day activities. If you are looking for big results, you have to integrate big shifts, big transformations. And that big transformation is first knowing yourself, finding your true nature, discovering yourself beyond or behind thoughts, emotions, actions, any kind of fluctuation as the awareness of them, and then repeating that at will in your day-to-day so that you can ground that knowing of yourself in your day-to-day life. So that is the big shift. The incremental practices that will bring you incremental results, and those practices are those who tell you focus on your heart, work with crystals, take a walk to relax, take 3 deep conscious breaths throughout your day. Yes, they are absolutely helpful and valuable, but if you are aiming at sustainable, profound peacefulness, really anchored in your day-to-day life, in other words, if you're aiming for a very effective grounding of your self-realization, you need a system in place to make that happen that will ground your realization in your day-to-day life. And that system for the Seekers Academy is the 4-pillar compass that emerged from my 30 years of research and experience on how to make the self-realization process free of struggle, full with clarity of direction and tools, and with effective, palpable results. When you begin to knowingly ground your self-realization in your day-to-day life, knowing exactly where you're going, where you are, and what tools to use to navigate life with the goal, intention of grounding your self-realization, this is what we are offering at Seekers Academy, and more about that later. At its core, the path of awakening is discovering the truth of yourself beyond the conditioned mind, beyond the stories that you tell yourself about yourself and the path and life, and beyond the roles that you play. That is at the core of self-realization. Finding yourself behind the appearances as that which is aware of your experience. But that is not enough. Grounding your self-realization is the journey, is the work. It is the journey from separation to unity. The more you ground your realization, the sense of separation gradually dissolves, and you find yourself experiencing yourself one with all of the existence, with all of life. Actually, not one with, because you're not separate from it, but as it. From lack to fulfillment. The seeking stops when you know yourself. That seeking has always been about fulfilling yourself, fulfilling that void that you, in time, when you become a dedicated seeker, or you decide you're going to do this, walking the path of self-realization, you realize that nothing can fulfill you other than knowing yourself. And the more you know yourself and ground this realization of yourself, the more that sense of separation dissolves, and the more you know your own completeness, which is that which fulfills or fills up that void, gives you that sense of fulfillment, because now you know your completeness. You have never been incomplete. No matter how wounded the mind is, you are always whole. From suffering to peace, dissolving all of these layers of conditioning, suffering, contraction that are deeply lodged in our body mind that create the suffering and returning to our natural state of peace, joy, love, compassion, integrity, creativity is what self-realization is about. The point of awakening is not to escape experience, is not to escape life. It is actually to live it fully. Because when you know who you are able to give yourself fully to any experience, because now you know you can never be lost. So the point of awakening is living life fully with this sense of presence and clarity of who you are, free from the distortions of the ego and the layers of conditioning. And this is achieved by gradually grounding your realization of yourself into your day-to-day life. So what does awakening serve? What is the purpose? Awakening is about aligning your body, mind, your thoughts, emotions, actions, behavior to the truth of your own being. And the truth of your own being is truth. It is peace, it is joy, love, compassion, integrity, creativity, wisdom. This alignment serves both individual and collective transformation. As your personal transformation, you start to feel less conflict and more peace. And that in itself is incredible relief and joy. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with truth, love, and peace. And that gradually transforms your entire life. You become free of the grip of fear, attachment, and aversion or resistance to life. As a collective contribution, the more you embody the truth of who you are, the more you become a beacon for others. You radiate that peace and love and joy throughout your entire being, and you become a source of inspiration and comfort for others. And by embodying compassion and peace, you contribute to a more conscious, harmonious, and happy world. It's about living in alignment with truth and serving as a beacon for those who are still struggling in the maze of confusion and suffering. So, what is the destination of this path? The ultimate goal of the awakening journey is to ground your realization. There is no end, there is no destination to this process. That is because you are infinite awareness. So there is infinite room for discovering your true nature. This grounding on your self-realization, it is not a shift on the surface level. It is a shift in identity. It is a shift in who you know yourself to be. That means integrating the truth about who you are into your thoughts, emotions, actions, and behavior, and living as who you truly are. Peace, love, joy, compassion, integrity, creativity, in a way that they become tangible in your everyday life. The journey doesn't end with awakening. It continues as an unfolding, realigning your entire being, body, mind, and heart to the truth of who you are. It is a continuous process of deepening, refining, and aligning with your true nature. Grounding your realization is about making it an unshakable truth, knowing. And after this becomes stable, the realization of your truth, of who you are, becomes stable in your awareness in your day-to-day life, you no longer need any system or any practice for that matter, unless you choose so. Because now you live freely as who you truly are. No layers of conditioning or ego patterns can now hold you back or cover who you truly are to make you forget. So after you've realized yourself for the first time, you had your first moment of awakening, you start to seek how to ground, anchor that knowing of yourself in your day-to-day life, and that is where most seekers get lost. Then the next portion of the journey comes when you found a very clear, precise, and complete system for self-realization that will help you effectively, clearly, systematically, ground your self-realization in your day-to-day life with incredible accelerated results and lasting transformation. So here comes the need for a system and a structure that most seekers don't even think exist. I never even imagined that there can be a system for self-realization that is very clear, very precise, that I can use and rely on in every moment when I feel lost or I get lost again. In the jungle of seeking, in the jungle of confusion, and in the layers of conditioning. Because we have the tendency to always go back to what we've been trained to do, which is seeking, in all of these places, in this sea of information and experiences, and we've never been trained to actually go back to ourselves. So we will get lost. But the very important value of a system and a structure is to get you back, to help you find your way back easily. And I've talked about that in one of our videos that I'm going to link here for you. The importance of a system. Walking the path of awakening without a system and without guidance can make you feel lost. There's so much to choose from, and feeling lost is only going to make you waste years of seeking, years which you could have used for grounding your self-realization. I am a very strong advocate of support, of guidance to get on your self-realization path, because it saves you so many years of suffering and struggle that are not necessary. Well, we can say they are necessary until you decide they're not necessary, and you give yourself a support system, a system and guidance that is going to make everything clear for you and help you ground your self-realization seamlessly in your day-to-day life. The value and importance of guidance on the awakening journey, you can already guess how incredibly valuable it is to receive guidance from someone who has already walked the path, is familiar with the challenges, has zero judgment towards what you are going through, and can provide you with that clarity, reassurance that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and this is what the next step is for you in order to go in the right direction. And don't waste energy and time in suffering and struggle. So you no longer remain in seeking mode and trying to figure it out on your own, but you start to ground your realization and walk this path with the fulfillment and the joy of knowing your own peace, and gradually grounding and anchoring that peacefulness in your day-to-day life more and more and more, instead of dwelling in the seeking that gives you suffering. So the goal of walking the awakening path or the self-realization path intentionally as a dedicated seeker that you are is profound transformation. That is what you seek. That is what you crave, right? To anchor, to ground that peacefulness that you've probably already tasted, which is the nature of your own being in your day-to-day life. To have that as a baseline for your living, as your normal way of feeling and being in your day-to-day life. So profound transformation, that is what we are seeking. That is why we walk the spiritual path with such commitment, because we know nothing else is ever going to provide that than the knowing of our true being, which comes with the knowing of our true nature, which is ever present, inherently peaceful, always unceasingly complete awareness. So as I said, in order to ground our realization, we need to make big shifts. And the big shifts becomes first with a moment of realization. If you haven't had that first moment yet, or you had it but you don't know how to repeat it at will in order to ground it into your day-to-day life, you are in the perfect place. This is exactly what we are doing at the Seekers Academy. So it doesn't matter if you haven't had that moment yet, because that is when the journey begins. It's not where it ends. The journey of grounding your self-realization begins with the first moment of realizing your true self, your true nature. And the reason why guidance is so incredibly useful is because it keeps you on the path of grounding your realization and keeps you from becoming lost in the seeking again. Because the reason why guidance is so powerful and valuable, I'm going to tell you this. It's because we don't have the discernment yet to be very clear about what I need and what I don't need, what is going to get me what I crave and what is not going to get me there. That is why we need appropriate, adequate guidance from someone who has already walked the path. Because we don't have the clarity, we don't have the discernment, we don't know. Why we don't know? Because we don't know our true nature yet, not clearly. We are being it, but we are not knowing it yet. So that is what you can find inside Seekers Academy through our deeply transformative programs. So the key milestones on the journey are diminished suffering, clarity of being, healing of emotional pain, effortless presence, unity consciousness. Now, if you're someone who doesn't want to commit to a system, to a course where we can work together in a group, or to just get your own 4-pillar compass online course, which is the core of all of our programs, what you can do to ground your self-realization is to practice the single unconventional way of practice, which is being, simply being, or being yourself. Now what that is to become familiar, to cultivate the awareness of being. Cultivate the awareness that you are being. And the more you cultivate the awareness of being, the more you will ground this realization in your day-to-day life. But even so, deciphering how this experience impacts your overall life is a journey in itself, because the jungle is still going to be there, and you are still going to be lured in by all sorts of other practices or teachings or retreats or whatever it is that is not going to take you to where you actually want to be. That is why guidance is so essential, because the guide already has the clarity and understands where you're at and knows how to bring you back on the direct path. So if you don't want any guidance or anything else and you just want to do it yourself, just practice the awareness of being. And that is going to ultimately start to ground your realization in your day-to-day life. But if you find it that this is difficult for you, you don't really know how to grasp it, how to go about it, then Seekers Academy was created exactly for that. So the point of walking the path of awakening intentionally is to know yourself and to be yourself, to be your true being. The purpose of awakening is to declutter your own life from all those conditioned patterns that drive your lives and keep you in suffering. Dissolving those layers of unclarity, of confusion, to finally see who you are and live out your true nature, the nature of your true self in your day-to-day life, to make it more beautiful, more open, more peaceful, more joyful. With the right system and guidance, the grounding of your self-realization becomes not only possible, but it becomes steady, fulfilling, and seamless. At Seekers Academy, we offer the map and the compass for this journey. It's all you need in the form of the 4-pillar compass, which is a clear pathway for self-realization. And we are here to guide you every step of the way until guidance and systems are no longer needed, because now you know who you are and nothing can ever make you forget. So if you're ready to take a deep dive to clarify, simplify, and streamline the grounding of your self-realization in your day-to-day life, to finally experience that sustained peace, joy, openness, fulfillment, we begin Seekers Master, which is a 9-month deep dive next month. You can still sign up until January 31st. Find the link below this video to go to the page where you can sign up already. And if you have questions, on the same page you will find a button to click to schedule a call with me so that we can talk about this and discover if this is a good fit for you. There are many videos on this YouTube channel that will bring more clarity on your self-realization journey. I hope you will find this a valuable resource. If you want to check our other programs, please go to the programs and events link below this video. Until next time, stay open, stay aware, and I will see you in my next video.